previously on the Spielman and Hooley We Tackle Life podcast.
Their interest, for whatever reason, is to continually not communicate. Just tell us what is going on.
It's so, this is the thing I'm most frustrated about as we continue down this road of rumor and silence. It's rumor publicly. Hey, there's a vote coming.
Oh, it's just
October
crazy.
10th. Harbaugh says it can be ready in 2 weeks. Buckeyes are practicing. That means something.
Does it? Does it mean anything?
No, not anymore. Nothing means anything. NFL's playing. That's all I
The
care
NFL's playing. You're working. We know
about.
that.
Exactly. And
don't
be
know.
glad. I want everybody out there to be glad that they do not live in Santa Clara or San Jose,
Yeah, let's get a
California.
scouting report on what that's like to travel to Buttoned Up USA
Yes.
as we welcome everybody into a September 16th edition of the We Tackle Life podcast. Mr. Spielman back from the Niners and the Cardinals, much to talk about with Kyler Murray, but let's give a scouting report on what it is like to be a resident of the state of California.
Well, I'll tell you, I thought the airlines, United Airlines, did a great job. People on the plane were very cooperative. I was very cooperative,
Mm-hmm.
following the rules. It was interesting coming home. And I don't know the person's situation personally,
Mhm.
but I saw a nice couple over there getting on a hazmat suit, goggles, shields, plastic gloves, getting dressed, ready to get on the plane. It was,
Goggles, wait a minute, goggles and a shield?
yes.
And the goggles
No,
and a
one
shield.
had the, here, I got a picture of it.
Excellent.
And I don't know their situation. They
No,
might be
right.
immunocompromised or
Immunocompromised.
immunocompromised. So I don't know. It just was interesting seeing people and how they reacted and responded, and it was good. But San Jose, Bruce, I walk into it's like a ghost town. Like San Francisco, there's nobody no traffic in San Francisco.
You
No.
cracked me up when you said your hotel was like
The Shining. It's The Shining. I was looking for red rum and a little kid in a tricycle at the end of the road. I'm not kidding there. Look at that.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
They look-
They have shields on. They have like a plastic suit on. Yeah, they
So,
got on the plane that way.
Yeah.
With gloves and everything.
Yeah. So, and
Okay.
I go into the hotel, check in. Guy looks really depressed. I'd be depressed too if I was locked down for 7 months.
Yeah.
I mean, I really, considering what it would be, we're very fortunate to live in the state of Ohio. I know that's even frustrating for people to say, but if you just experience what I experienced, restaurants can't go indoors.
Mm-hmm.
If you sit outside, you're lucky to get a table. Plus, you had the fires coming in, and the air quality was 190. So you go back to the room. It's you're hacking and coughing and sneezing.
What
and
does the sky look like?
At nighttime, it was like orange.
Yeah.
But
Well, you got the game in.
Well,
You talked to
here's
me
the
on
goal.
Friday.
Yeah.
You said they might not play.
well, here's the thing. The other thing too, there's nothing open in. I fortunately I anticipate this. This is why there's never an excuse not to work out.
Yeah.
I took my TRX bands and my resistance bands.
Because the gym
Found-
was closed?
Yeah, gym was closed. Found an empty ballroom. Did a 5K in the ballroom and did a TRX workout and a band workout. 3 days that I was out there. But the game was played.
How many people were in the hotel?
It was it's a big hotel, Fairmont. I mean, so one of the bigger hotels. Maybe,
I mean, normally when you go to the
I think-
elevator, you're going to see
I think
people.
there was a capacity of 8%, and our crew was 5% of the 8%.
Okay.
So maybe what?
You knew I was like you and your friends all had a hotel to yourself.
Yeah. So, but nothing was open. I mean,
Where did
and
you
things
eat?
were roped off.
Where did you eat? If the
Went
rest
to
of
the
the
grocery
restaurants are
store.
shut?
Went to the grocery store on Friday. Didn't have the refrigerator. Wasn't working, so didn't or wasn't keeping cold. So I had to throw some stuff out. But you could do DoorDash and all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't do that.
Yeah.
So I went and bought protein and all that.
Sure, of course. I'm
Yes,
glad
of
you're
course
back.
you did.
I'm glad you're healthy. I'm glad
Yeah, it
you're
was good.
bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Head
Ready
to
to go.
Philly. Head to Philly this week.
Right away. Let's go. Get on a plane tomorrow. Time to go.
Boy, Philly can't be feeling very good after blowing a 17-0 lead to the Washington Buckeyes. I'm going to call them the Washington Buckeyes because every team needs a nickname, and they're going nowhere without
Yes,
Chase
the
Young,
Washington
Terry
Buckeyes.
McLaurin, and Dwayne Haskins. Why don't they just end the suspense and call
Yeah.
themselves the Washington Buckeyes?
Yeah, I have Washington next week in Cleveland, but look, I think this. I mean, week one, especially this year,
Mhm.
I think week one is a liar. I mean, there's teams that looked really, really good and teams that looked really, really bad. Minnesota Vikings looked god awful on defense,
Yeah,
at
they
least.
Aaron Rodgers will do that to them.
Cleveland, I mean, I said, I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to show up, but I was betting and Aaron Rodgers just to prove a point that I ain't going anywhere for a while.
Yeah.
And he did show up. I just think there's so much improvement from week 1 to week 2. We didn't have the OTAs. We didn't have the preseason. So it might take some teams. I don't know why. If I knew why, every team would have played great on Sunday. It might take some teams a little bit more to get going. That can still be very good, even though they looked awful in week 1. And I go back to my own personal experience back in 1991 in the opener on a Sunday night. We got drilled by the Redskins by 40, 30, whatever it was. It doesn't matter once it reached a certain number.
Yeah.
End up getting drilled by the Redskins, but second time, but that was in the NFC Championship game. So week 1 can be a liar. And so if your team lost, I wouldn't panic. Especially the Philadelphia Eagles, although their quarterback took 8 sacks, probably 5 of those were on him because he holds the ball too long. But so there's a lot of good things. So I mean, I enjoyed football. Fox ratings were up, and which was good and boosted by Tom Brady and
Drew Brees. Yeah,
Drew Brees. Our ratings, at least, we were on a smaller market, obviously, but our ratings up in California and Arizona were up 39%.
Great.
Week 1. So Kyler Murray's special player, man.
He is special. With DeAndre Hopkins, he's even more special.
Now, I want to talk real quick, and I know you'll get into it, with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed because he lost the one attribute that I was holding on to for him. Now, hopefully he'll get it back, is accuracy. I don't know where he was throwing the ball. I really don't. Joe looked like a rookie quarterback.
Joe Burrow, yeah.
And that...
Till the last drive.
Yeah, but I think he's going to be really, really good when it's all said and done.
Tomorrow night, Bengals at Browns. We'll be talking about that today. We'll cover the Big Ten. We want to thank you who are watching us on Facebook. We had this show started today. I had it 6:45, 6:55, then 7:10. So if you're getting in late, it's my fault. Spiel's arrival this morning was delayed a bit, but we see we have Anthony in Naples, Florida, joining us. It's nice of you to say that, Anthony. And you won't know until the end of the faith portion of the podcast how much I needed to see that kind of a comment today from somebody. So thanks for affirming us by saying that you appreciate the work that we're doing. We appreciate that very much. You can all respond via Facebook Messenger, or you can tweet the show at We Tackle. We are live every day around about, or not every day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, around about this time. Will you be joining me Friday, or are you on your way to Philly?
No, I'll be long.
Okay, all right. I think I have a guest lined up for Friday.
Who?
I think Dustin Fox is going to join me.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So Dustin is not doing Browns post game, so he should not be, unable to join me Friday. But that's where we're headed, Dustin. Or I have a
pretty good gig on it.
Yeah, he's got a great assignment this year with ESPN. His star is growing at ESPN.
Who's he working with?
I don't know who he is working with. I got to text him and find that out. All right, so let me first of all ask you about your Lions, because I think you're still are you still doing your Lions thing during the season?
Yeah, just got done.
Okay,
I one yesterday.
All right, so the Lions should have won that game.
Sure.
DeAndre Swift dropped the game-winning touchdown pass, but I'm interested in Jeff Okudah because we heard a lot about Chase Young. I didn't hear how Okudah played. Didn't he?
Didn't play.
Oh, he didn't? Really?
He played and got a hamstring.
That's what I did. Maybe why I didn't hear.
So, yeah. So I mean, the Lions ended up playing with backups, and Mitchell Trubisky, who wasn't very good the whole game, threw a game-winning touchdown. And here's again, I boil this down to the NFL because the Cardinals shouldn't have won that game.
No,
Jimmy Garoppolo had missed 4 times. So it's all about making a crucial play at crucial times. It's not just making a great play. It's when you make a great play. And what time of game do you make the great play? Jimmy Garoppolo had Kendrick Bourne wide open in the end zone, underthrew him. Guy was beaten and hit the defender in the back of the head because he was beat so bad. Missed a post wide open for a touchdown. Missed a wide open Kyle Juszczyk because of pressure. Then on the 4th and 5, he missed his receiver that was open on a little outcut. With this play ended the game because the ball was late and inside. So those are 4 plays that would have changed that ball game. That didn't change it. And if you watch the NFL, 70% of the games are going to come down to the 4th quarter, and there's going to be somebody to make a play or not make a play. For example, DeAndre Swift Didn't make a play.
No, he didn't.
Now we can go back and say, well, Stafford shouldn't have threw an interception with 4:08 left. He shouldn't have forced the ball in there. He did. But Trubisky and Anthony Miller had a chance to make a play. They made a play. DeAndre Swift, poor guy, rookie year, number one pick. Everybody loves him.
Supposed to be a great pass catcher out of the backfield.
And just dropped the ball. And, but those are guys, I mean, that's where you have to, coddle him a little bit, and because you don't want the guy to go into the tank.
No, you can't afford
You can tell by DeAndre Swift what type of kid he cares. And so, you got to lift those guys up.
Yep.
So I'm sure he'll be back.
So I got the pleasure of having Red Zone free on YouTube TV for week 1.
How great is that?
I love it. Red Zone's awesome. I didn't realize. I thought all they did was show you touchdowns, and maybe that's what they do because I was watching the Browns, so I really didn't dial into Red Zone until the second window.
It's great.
And there were 3 late games going on: Bengals, Chargers, your game, and forget the third one.
Saints Bucks.
Saints Bucks was a late game. Okay, yeah, because I saw a lot of that. So what they did was they just hopped around, and I saw a lot of each game, and I don't think we were in your game when the Cardinals were driving and got a field goal at the end of the first half. But you talk about guys making plays. A play that went under the radar that played big in that game. They threw a pass to Hopkins. He caught it. There were no timeouts left for the Cardinals. Larry Fitzgerald had the presence of mind to run to DeAndre Hopkins, grab the ball, run to the line of scrimmage, hand it to the center, and they spiked it with 1 or 2 seconds to go.
Yeah.
If Larry Fitzgerald doesn't make that play, they don't get 3 points.
Yeah, it's little things.
What
like
a
that.
veteran. I just love Larry
Hall of
Fitzgerald.
Famer. And not only that, watching him block, we did show a replay of that, and fortunately we had the good eyes to pick that up, that somebody was able to do that. But those are all the little things, and not only Larry Fitzgerald, but a guy, because he's a young guy, he's a good-looking guy. He took the picture of the Cliff Kingsbury I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Took the picture during draft where he's looking like James Bond.
Living large.
Yeah, I can't tell you what a good football coach he is, man. And smart and organized. Zero ego, but he can call plays.
Yeah.
And he understands details. And I think that team is as well coached. There's another key play in that game, because crackback blocking is illegal. Even if you hit the guy, you don't have to. You just can't crack back.
Barely
you hit him
touch
right in the face. You
Yeah.
can't touch him. Kenyon Drake on a scramble. Kyler Murray was running to Kenyon Drake's side. Kenyon Drake was coming back to block for him, and he could have laid dudes out 2 years ago legally.
Yeah.
This
A
year,
Heinz Ward block.
all he did was kind of turn his back and do like a basketball screen to him, and that's just smart football now. And to be able to execute intelligence and not making stupid plays, understanding the rules during the middle of a game is a credit to coaching, not only to Cliff, but all the Cardinal coaches, in my opinion.
So bring up the Larry Fitzgerald play to sort of set the table for a Browns discussion around Odell Beckham Jr. a little later. But first, let's get into Ohio State, the Big Ten. We think, thanks to a hot mic, the Big Ten is going to play on October the 17th. The Nebraska chancellor yesterday caught on a hot mic telling another guy who was speaking, hey, we're going to have an announcement tonight about football. Last night passed, no announcement. Joel Klatt tweeted today that he thinks that the Big Ten is still working to line up the 9 votes it needs from its 14 presidents and chancellors to get football approved starting October the 17th, eight game season over 9 weeks, because it'd be devastating if they voted again and they voted it down. But we don't have word yet. We still think they're going to play October 17th.
Didn't the chancellor of Wisconsin come out and didn't she
Chancellor of Wisconsin said,
not ready yet?
Yeah, said not ready yet. We'll be ready when we get the assurances we want. Michigan's guy, we presume, he had a town hall yesterday where he basically apologized to the university community for doing his job in a bad way. So I assume he's going to reverse course on football. He wasn't apologizing just about football, but about the way they brought students back to campus and all that. So he's got to mend fences, and voting against football is not the way to mend fences. So I assume he's going to flip.
The other thing in Michigan is that the governor up there has a mask mandate while you're playing.
Unless you're on the Detroit Lions.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, because the NFL has its own safety protocols. But as I said on the podcast last week, if you practice or play high school sports, you have to wear a mask all the time while competing, while practicing.
Which is detrimental. And
it's just terrible.
So anyway.
Yeah. So we'll wait and see. The word could come any day, could come while we're doing this podcast.
Yeah, and congratulations to Wyatt Davis and congratulations to Sean Wade.
So you're okay with those two decisions?
Yes.
Okay.
Why? I mean,
Here's people were going to wonder, and I kind of wonder, the Wyatt Davis thing. I look at it and I'm like, okay, the uncertainty bothers you. He made the announcement last week before we had this groundswell of momentum leaning toward football. So I get Wyatt Davis' decision. Sean Wade's decision is curious to me for a couple reasons. Number one, it came right on the cusp of everybody thinking we're going to have football on October the 17th. And it came on the cusp of his dad being the leading guy behind the we got to play. We got to play, we got to play, we got to play.
Okay, so you got to play, but I can't sit around forever and wait for you people to make a decision.
Maybe that's the justification.
I need to go, and if we're not playing, I need to know. But I'm not going to sit here and continue to wait for you to tell me to move, to eat. You can go to the bathroom. You can't go to the bathroom. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, Wade can go wherever he wants to go and start training.
Now he can do a school online or whatever. And now he can at least
drop out.
Well, or whatever he might wants to do, but have at least a focus point on what he can do instead of sitting around waiting. I often say this: some of the most anxious moments of my life, when I've suffered the greatest anxiety, is the not knowing. I'd rather know, good or bad, so at least I can organize a plan to do what I have to do to move forward. Okay? And you can't sit around and look, Mr. Wade did what he thought he was supposed to do for his son at the time, but if they're not going to make a decision and they keep going back and forth, and the Big Ten decision is a little bit like COVID and how COVID's being reported. You can find one side that says everybody's dying, or you can find another side that says that the doctor, because I got to get a COVID test every week now, the doctor I was talking to said, look, if you get this, Chris, you got a 0.008% chance of dying.
Yeah.
So, and with the Big Ten, you can find, they'll never play. It's the right thing to do. Safety first. Safety, myocarditis, which has been around since man's been around.
Yeah.
Or you got, they're playing, they're voting now. So I don't know who to believe. So if I'm Mr. Wade, I'm saying, look, Sean, we gave it a shot, buddy. It ain't happening. Or at least we don't think it's happening. If it does happen, okay, we missed out, but at least we know and have direction of which way we're going now. That's how I would look at it.
Yeah, when you look at those guys too, I know there are a lot of people who are hopeful they'll change their mind and come back and play, and they may. I'm not saying they won't, but I would say that when you're on the fence and then you finally get off the fence and you decide what you're going to do and you set a course of action, there's a reason why you commit to that course of action. And I think it's difficult because now that these guys have declared, they're getting hammered by agents recruiting them and offered big sums of money to go train and all these kinds of things, and their mindset probably shifts away from college football.
So the more you're removed, the more you shift away.
I would be a little bit surprised if they came back and played. If they made up their mind, they've sort of set their course, and always there's the injury risk.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Once I made up my mind, I'm done.
So that'll be 5.
There'll be
4 All-Americans. Now they got to replace Dobbins, Okudah, Young, and Davis, and Sean Wade. And you can count. I think you can count Sean Wade as a first-round pick. They would have had 5 other first-round picks. 5 total first-round picks, rather. 2 more first-round picks that they have to replace. So we'll see. The big domino is Justin Fields. I assume Justin Fields has a little bit more invested in playing because he's only started 1 year. So I would be
a great point up by you.
More surprised if he opted out than I was by Wade or Davis, but I wouldn't be shocked if he opted out.
No, I think Sean and Wyatt Davis, their work is there.
They've proved it. Yep.
They're done. I think Justin has a chance to improve, and you also run the risk of dropping your draft status.
You do, yeah.
But I think he's a good enough player and believes in himself enough that he's going to wait till the very last second before he makes a decision, because I do think you're right that he can benefit. Trevor Lawrence looked pretty decent the other night. So
Trevor's got 2 years in the bank.
Yeah.
This will be his 3rd. Fields has only 1, and the numbers on guys who start 2 years in college versus the numbers on guys who start 3 versus those who start 2 are stark.
Yeah.
Justin hasn't started 2, so I think he has a reason to stay. I think Olave has a reason to stay. I think Josh Myers can elevate himself by staying. But all 3 of them too could say, "Nah, it's not worth it to me."
No, and I get it, and then you can look at, okay, can they sue for loss of income or potential future earnings, right?
Yeah.
And well, how does that make a difference? Well, Kevin Colbert, the general manager of the Pittsburgh Steelers, was the one that came out. Look, if it's a tie between two guys, we're picking the guy that's played the last.
The guy who played, yeah.
That's just the way it is. Nothing personal. It's just that's what makes sense for us to do.
It makes sense for you to order your Hemisphere Coffee Roasters coffee by using the promo code WeTackleLife in all caps. Why? Because you'll get 15% off and you'll get great coffee. Spiels loves Hemisphere Coffee Roasters coffee. So does Mrs. Spielman. And we've got a tweet. Did you see the tweet about somebody saying what the Hemisphere might have to offer marriage counseling with every order? They think we ought to hire a family counselor. That's not happening. But it's great coffee, and it's good fun that they're engaging in with us. And they've joined us early on with COVID-19 relief.
Yeah.
Reminder, get your emails in by Friday. We'll draw 4 names on Friday for COVID-19 relief. Spielman Hooley podcast at gmail.com. Everybody loves Hemisphere coffee. There's a lot to love, not just the taste, not just the variety, but the fact that it's sourced from around the world and that you get great coffee direct from growers. They get more money because they sell direct to Hemisphere. Paul has great relationships with his growers, and he's a very discerning buyer. So try it out. Hemisphere Coffee Roasters coffee, available via hemispherecoffeeroasters.com. We Tackle Life's the promo code in all
See what happens
caps.
when you partner with Spielman and Hooley podcast.
Right.
Your business helps.
Business prospers. Yes, it does.
There you go.
And so do we, and we appreciate that.
Okay, well, yeah.
Yeah, we do. We do.
How was the
appreciate
big show when I was
it.
gone?
The big show was a little smaller without you. It was just a medium show. We talked
New
about
garage, by the way.
Hmm?
Did you get a new garage?
new garage door will be ordered today.
Did you tell the people that
I did not.
All
No, I don't want to tell them. So if you want to tell them, you can tell them. I didn't know. Did you tell your wife?
That was very.
My
I
wife.
told her as I was pulling out of the driveway.
I told my wife that there was no way you'd keep that a secret from your wife, even though I labored to help you keep
I
it a
know.
secret from your wife.
I can't do that though. It's
So
just
shall
not-
we tell people everything that happened? A week ago today.
We could go today. Pulled in. I was reading an email, actually from somebody who listens to the show. When I was really engaged in the email, and I pulled up by the garage. I thought I put the car in park. My foot was on a brake, so it wasn't moving. But I was reading the email. Didn't realize I did not put the car in park. Took my foot slightly off the brake. All of a sudden, I hear beep, 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 and all of a sudden, boom! And I knocked the garage door off of Bruce Hooley's house. Car had a little paint. Other than that, it
Little
was okay.
scrape.
Little scrape.
Scrape about that big.
Yeah, and but the garage door is no longer.
It's
And I
on
felt
IR. The
awful.
garage door is on
I
IR.
felt awful.
You did feel awful.
I
And I
did.
said, accidents happen. That's why they're
happen.
accidents.
And my wife, we were just got done talking about why I can't have a nice car because it's just not going to work, Chris. That's what it's just. You're just not going to work because
So
sometimes you drive like you used to play. You just go, and if you hit something, it's like, I didn't really hit it, because it's like if you tell yourself I didn't hit it, you didn't hit it. But I could ignore the garage door, so I apologize to Sherry. I apologize to you. So I'll be working free.
You were
for this
overboard
Spielman and Hooley podcast
for a while.
I'm like the guy that
You just apologized and apologized and apologized. And the funniest part was you had this scrape on your car. And you're like, is there any way we can get that off? And I said, yeah, we can get that off.
Yeah.
We'll get that off with rubbing compound. So after the show, we worked on it. And did we not remove all visual evidence of the accident?
No, well, the quarter panels popped out just a tad.
Nobody would notice that.
Nobody. She did.
She did?
Yes.
Well, sure, because you told her before you pulled out of the driveway.
She did because I didn't tell her what part of the car hit the garage, and so she's tough, man. And I like, I'm like, when I come here, I'm like the dude at the restaurant that eats and then he doesn't have any money, so I'm back in the kitchen washing dishes. At home, I'm like scared to death. I felt like I was a teenager again, and she's walking around the car.
You're
Tell me where you hit
grounded.
it. I said, no, I ain't telling you where I hit it.
That's funny. Well, anyway, we got most of the damage off.
Yeah.
So
I don't need our law services yet.
No, so I was going to say, we did not have to involve Willis Spangler Starling in this, which, that's a good thing. But if you're injured, there was no dogs were injured in the ramming of the garage door. No people
Oh
or
my
anything.
gosh. Yeah.
Just an ego bruised. So Willis Spangler Starling, in all seriousness, they're great people. I had breakfast with Stan yesterday, and he's very thankful for the business he's received through the Spielman Hooley podcast, and we are as well. So if you're looking for a great attorney, personal injury workers comp, Will's estate planning, Anything, everything. A full-service firm in Hilliard, Willis Spangler, Starling. Redesigned website. Check it out, willisattorneys.com. willisattorneys.com. All right, tomorrow night, Battle of Ohio. First Baker-Burrow matchup, Baker-Burrow battle. I'm writing about it today for PressProsMagazine.com. I enjoyed reading all the old stories from Dave Lapham and Bernie Kosar about the icy cold relationship, of course, between ex-Browns owner, the late Art Modell, and the late Paul Brown, the father of football. Boy, Bill Belichick's a big Paul Brown fan. He said he learned everything from Paul Brown. So then, the Battle of Ohio then, when Modell had fired Paul Brown, and Paul Brown went and started the Bengals, and they ended up in the same division, was a great rivalry and a bitter rivalry. Now the Browns, having worked in Cleveland, I can tell you people got way more excited about a Ravens game because they were the old Browns, or a Steelers game, and the Bengals were just another game. And I think to the Bengals fans, their Browns are just another game. But now we have 2 number 1 picks at quarterback 3 years apart, going to be, we think, for the foreseeable future, the quarterbacks of the Browns and Bengals. And I have hopes the Battle of Ohio can get back to what it used to be, because that was fun.
I do. I think we're a couple at least a year away from that. But Cincinnati's an improved football team.
They are very improved. Their defense was, that Charger team, Tyrod Taylor's not a good quarterback, but the defense for the Chargers is really good still.
Yeah.
And the Bengals hung right in there, should have won the game.
Yeah, and they're improved from last year. I did a couple Bengal game last year, and they're much improved. Cleveland they're a better team than what they looked. They looked awful.
Was that first-year coach, no preseason? Is that what we saw?
I think a little bit. Remember I talked about how
the veteran coaches
will have a little bit of an edge, and I just was a little bit concerned with Baker Mayfield and how he played in the accuracy. I just was kind of flicking. I was watching Red Zone before our game. I saw a couple plays. There was a time, big third down, he had Odell Beckham wide open over the middle, threw the ball behind him.
Yeah.
And usually he's on target with that throw. And I was reading an article on Baker Mayfield, and I haven't watched enough of him or that game, but somebody had a really interesting point. They said that Baker Mayfield needs to stop trying to be Russell Wilson and start trying to be Drew Brees in the type of style that he plays in. And I thought that was a really good point. Again, I just haven't watched the film of Baker, but I'm going to watch tomorrow night because I'm excited to see Joe play, and I'm excited to see the Browns play. I want those teams to do well because it's good for our state.
It is.
When those teams are good. So we'll see how that plays out.
But that's not what Stefanski is trying to do with Baker Mayfield. I don't think that's what he did with Kirk Cousins, is it? Didn't they get Kirk Cousins on the move and move the pocket? That's what I've heard about the Stefanski.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when a play breaks down.
So he needs to stay in the pocket more rather than
or just he's not. Yeah, stop running around or try and get rid of the ball, or you can move and extend the pocket. It's just when the play breaks down. He does some great things, obviously, but he's not Russell Wilson.
No, he's not.
And so I thought it's something interesting to look at. Drew's hang in that pocket or get rid of the ball on time or whatever the case may be, but Drew's normally on target. That's the biggest concern I have is the accuracy of Baker Mayfield, because his rookie year, he was throwing balls in places that not a lot of people can make that throw because of his body position. So I just think he needs a good game to have some confidence, because I don't know where his confidence is right now. Did he say anything after the game? Or
it'll be fine 1 week. We'll be all the standard stuff.
Which is true, though.
Nick has a funny comment about your garage door incident there. It says, you want me to have an open door policy? Well, it's not for 6 weeks, Nick, because the door can't be open. But we fortunately have a side door to the garage, and the dogs are able to be let out that way.
Quit whining about it already. I knocked your garage down. Big deal. You act like that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it happens all the time. Okay, Ryan Clark, former Steeler.
Yes.
So take it with a grain of salt. ESPN commentator, though, and I think he's pretty good. Said Baker Mayfield, quote, isn't that talented.
Well, that's his opinion. And until Baker proves him wrong, he's right on one game. And like I'm kind of going on Baker, so I'm not going to give up on the guy. I think it's ridiculous. I think he is and has shown the ability to be that talented. I told you the biggest thing that's going to stunt the growth of Baker Mayfield is that it's his third offense in 3 years. That's the Cleveland Browns. That's the dysfunction that you have known and loved most of your
Oh, yeah.
life.
Yes. That guy tweeted at me last week during the game when I thanked the Rams for having the worst NFL uniform redesign. I said, thanks for taking us off the hook as Browns fans for having the worst NFL uniform redesign. And he said, the problem with the Browns uniforms is nothing goes with orange and brown. And I said, that's not true. Dysfunction goes with it very well. But here's something else about the difference between Baker Mayfield year one, which you were talking about, very impressive, set an NFL record most touchdown passes by a rookie, and Baker Mayfield years 2 and 3. Do you know where I'm going with it?
Mm-mm.
Who was not there his rookie year, who has been there the last 2 years?
OBJ?
Uh-huh. And the urgency of getting OBJ the ball, targeted 10 times against the Ravens, 3 receptions, 23 yards.
Oof. What did Jarvis have?
I don't know what Jarvis had, but they try to get it to Odell, and a lot of people are talking about they're forcing it to Odell, and Odell has to be kept happy, and Odell, and it hurts the team because of the preoccupation with getting it to Odell.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll tell you, you look at the Cardinals going against a pretty good defense in the 49ers. Well, they maybe have the best wide receiver in the game in DeAndre Hopkins, right? 16 targets, 14 catches. You want to know how they got him the ball? You take 3 receivers, you put them to one side. Put Hopkins, so trips receivers, 3 receivers to one side, 1 receiver to the opposite side. You got a one-on-one route every time you want it. Anytime you want it.
Yeah.
Over there.
So it shouldn't be that hard to scheme it.
No.
Here's the difference with the Arizona Cardinals. I'm making a prediction. DeAndre Hopkins could have 14 catches every game all season long. And the one guy I'm pretty sure will not complain about that is Larry Fitzgerald.
No.
But on the Cleveland Browns, if Odell Beckham Jr. becomes secondary to Jarvis Landry, because Landry and Baker have been together longer and they have more telepathy, Odell Beckham will not go very long without being a very unhappy camper.
I want to think the best of people because it's the new me. I'm love and peace and positivity.
I'm trying, man.
I am.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to.
I would love, though. I can imagine if they lose again and Odell only has 2 catches. I'll look and see how many Jarvis Landry had. I would just want to sit in that receivers and quarterbacks room. Then how many times they're stomping up to see the head coach? You know, because the great players like Larry Fitzgerald, they don't complain. I mean, hey, I did my share of complaining in the day. I admit it, but it was always about the team. And I never wanted to be a distraction for the team. So it's going to be interesting to see as we move forward how these guys respond to each other. So
Browns defense was dreadful. Lamar Jackson, who looked great. I'm still not ready to say Lamar Jackson is going to continue to be the Lamar Jackson.
I don't know why don't you beat it?
Because I can't use the Browns as a litmus test for the rest of the NFL. I just can't do it.
I don't know how to turn this.
What do you?
I just got to have
Jarvis Landry's numbers.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Okay, let me see if I can.
5 for 61.
5 for 60.
And Joko 3 for 50.
Yeah.
Beckham 3 for 22. Austin Hooper 2 for 15. So they didn't get Kareem Hunt the ball out of the backfield at all.
Kareem had 80 yards rushing. Nick Chubb had 60 yards rushing.
They can run the ball. They're not far off.
And we'll see if they can run the ball against the Cincinnati Bengals.
How did A.J. Green look the other day?
A.J. Green looked pretty good. Joe Burrow. Let's talk about Joe Burrow's debut. He missed A.J. Green on the sidelines. He missed John Ross in the end zone, although a reasonably good NFL receiver makes that catch and keeps his feet in. John Ross is the gift that keeps on giving to the opponent. He had a stupid false start penalty on their last drive. Joe Burrow rescued him. A wide receiver having a false start penalty on a game-winning drive, inexcusable. You cannot turn 3rd and 3 into 3rd and 8.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow rescued him.
Changes your playbook.
Burrow on the last drive hit 5 different receivers: Tyler Boyd, A.J. Green, C.J. Uzama. They were all raving about his coolness under pressure. I thought he was going to win the game. He threw the game-winning touchdown pass to A.J. Green. I don't know if you saw that play. Was it pass interference or not?
I didn't see the play.
offensive pass interference. AJ goes into the end zone, and he had his hands up, and
Did he extend?
The DB sold it. The DB went, "Whoa," like this.
Did he extend? Look, here's what
Maybe.
they're looking for.
First three quarters, no call. Last quarter, maybe a call.
Here's what I know about the officials. Fortunately, I have access to a very smart guy in Dean Blandino.
Yeah.
And Dean is reasonable, right?
Mhm.
I mean, he looks at it, and the problem you have with offensive pass interference, and it is a point of emphasis this year. If there is, I don't care what it looks like, if there's an extension of your arms, it's automatic.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just automatic.
Well, particularly given the fact that there were seconds left and it would have won the game.
Yeah, it's automatic.
So they called it.
It's
so then,
automatic.
So then Randy Bullock comes in to kick the game-tying field goal from 31 yards. And he sprays the thing way right and then comes up limping. And I thought of you, because you've been a victim of a field goal kicker missing a makeable field goal at the end of a game you really, 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 really wanted to win. And I thought the only thing worse than the kicker missing it is the kicker, like, clutching at his leg as if he's injured right after he does it. It's like, I don't want to see. I don't want to see
Nobody
that.
cares.
Nobody cares, dude. Make the field goal. So now we have drama. The Browns, who had Austin Seibert.
Maybe he's going to be kicking for the Bengals.
Well, here's the deal. He missed an extra point, and he missed a field goal at the end of the half. So the Browns cut him.
Good.
And the Bengals picked him up. So he's going to be likely kicking for the Bengals on Thursday night.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm trying to figure out what is more appropriate. Is it more Browns that Seibert would kick the game-winning field goal
Yeah.
for the Bengals?
It's definitely that.
Or is it more Bengals that Seibert would miss
I think
a key field goal?
it's definitely
The former? Yeah.
No, I think it's definitely the former, the Browns.
The Browns. It's more Browns that Seibert would kick a game-winning 55-yard field goal for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Are you deep down? You're still a Browns fan, aren't you? Can you admit that you still? I mean,
of course, that's not even
though
deep down. It's like right there on the
even though
surface.
you took the walk, you can't get away. It's they have their clutches into you.
There is something about a sports team that you cannot divorce. I mean,
And how many times have you tried
if
to
only
escape?
marriages were as long-lasting as sports marriages.
How many times have you tried to escape the clutches of the Cleveland Browns?
Numerous. When they went to Baltimore, I'm like, okay, dead to me forever. I'm freed of this prison. Nope, here they come back again with the colors and the name. Yeah, great, fantastic. All right, so
That's going to be awesome. I'm excited about that game.
Thursday night, I'm excited too.
I'll be
Baker
in
and Durham.
Philadelphia watching that. So.
Browns will have 6,000 fans there. They'll make some noise. It won't be like a typical stadium. So I went on 610 TVN on Sunday and I said the Bengals would start 2-0. Thought I had it when they threw that pass to AJ Green, or even going to overtime. I thought I had it. So they can't start 2-0, but I'm going to stick with them Thursday night against the Browns.
Okay. We'll see. Here's the thing I know. I actually did a little bit of producing Sunday during the game.
Okay.
I said, we got to show the empty stadium. No. It's in my ear.
Can't do
I'm having a conversation. I said, well, listen, I got a point, though. It's an important point that's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, okay, what's the point? I said, look, you're even an away team. It used to be a 3-point. You lose 3 points off your score right away as the away team.
Yeah.
Now it's a 1-point advantage for the home team, not a 3-point advantage. And nobody's made that point. And just because, well, why, Chris? Well, communication is so much easier, right? Communication with the offense,
No doubt.
especially. You don't have the distractions. Home teams feed off the energy of fans. I didn't realize that until I watched the Super Bowl runner-up 49ers play with zero energy. I mean, they did play with energy. There's something missing. You could just tell.
Yeah.
Where the Cardinals were just all in and having a blast playing football. And I think the one point that is still alive is because you don't have to travel. The team does not have to travel, get on a plane, go to a hotel.
Right.
So it was it's pretty interesting. I did not notice a difference I did a little bit during breaks with no fans, but during the game, because I have them jack that crowd noise in my headsets so that my voice doesn't tail off. Worked with Kevin Kugler for the first time, and great guy, and did an excellent job. Really smart and bright and on top of things. And Worked with Laura Oakman for the first time. She did a great job. So it was so refreshing for me to be focused and dialed in on getting ready for a game and watching film. Like I watched a little bit of the Eagles yesterday and a little bit of the Rams yesterday. We'll watch more, but it's so refreshing to get back to somewhat of a working schedule for me.
It was fun Saturday night to sit down and watch Clemson play Wake
Yeah.
Forest. It was fun to have NFL football on Sunday. I'm looking forward to watching the Browns and Bengals.
Do you buy the ratings tank or? I got a little theory.
I think
behind
unless the matchup is great. I was not surprised Brady and Breeze got great ratings. I think people are interested in Tom Brady.
Sure.
I think the ratings will be down in some places, but I think the marquee matchups will still be popular.
Here's the reason why I think week 1 was down. I mean, I get that people don't want. It's very clear in evidence. Fox told us they don't want to watch the game for politics. They want to watch the game to watch the game.
That's why I think the Chiefs and Texans got booed, was not for a displeasure of the fans against an equality message.
No.
It was a demonstration of the fans. I just want football.
Right.
Just give me football. I want a respite from the rancor. That's what I want.
I think if I were the NFL, I would do this. I think that the NFL players, some of the social justice things they're doing are really, really good and remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
Those things should be highlighted. We just don't need demonstrations, because demonstrations are an action that stops right there. What you're doing in the actual action that you're taking, that's what should be highlighted.
Yeah.
And people like to see that. People like to hear, well, they're helping out. This player does this, his cause. And frankly, you and I have been social justice causing for our whole lifetime, as far as lifting other people up and hopefully providing other opportunities for other people by service, right? So I think one of the reasons why the NFL was down, they didn't have the normal casual viewers, because a lot of people didn't know football started on Thursday night, or college football is not playing, or the NFL even started on Sunday. The other thing is, because the big markets like LA, San Francisco, Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, what's closed still? Bars.
Yeah.
And bars are part of the rating system now. You only used to do home television sets, not bars or airports or whatever the case. So I think I don't think the ratings are going to be in that big of a deal when it's all said and done. And once these bars and hopefully people start opening up, maybe after the election, people will view things a little bit differently, and we can start moving forward. So,
to your point about what people do is more important than the protest action they take. Matthew Slater of the Patriots, a friend of mine in the NFL, sent me this, and I thought it was very good. The Patriots stood as a unit for both anthems. Yeah.
And so the 49ers.
And Slater said that it was important for us, whatever we decided to do it together. The only thing that we're really missing now as a country is a sense of oneness. And he said, to go forward, he said, I'm proud of the conversations we had that led up for us to take that action now. Action is the only thing that is going to help these situations, and that's direct action. That's not disrespect to anyone else. But he said, he talked about the actions, and you have to follow through. So that is, I think, well said by Matthew Slater of the Patriots.
I agree with that. I mean, and look, the Cardinals didn't come out for either.
I was a little surprised the television networks covered the national anthems as much as they did. I thought it would be a thing where the networks, sensitive to people's sensitivity to the disagreements about certain things involving our country, and knowing that the anthem is perceived by many, myself included, as it's disrespectful to kneel for the anthem, I thought the networks might just not show the anthem, because it's not hard for the networks not to show the anthem.
We never show it. I've not done a game where we.
There were a lot of games where they showed guys on the sidelines kneeling and
I think
standing fist in the air.
Maybe that's a first week thing. I don't know. I know that our Fox. I don't think we show the anthem. We never shown it. And
I hope it is. I don't need to see it.
I mean, Fox. Fox is supportive of everything the players are trying to do. They really are. I mean, we're the ones telling the stories and all that stuff, and it's just, it's clear that, look, we're there to do a football game. It is clear 90% of the people surveyed. There's a guy at Fox, your boy Clay Travis talks about him. Mike Mulville. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter.
I don't.
Really bright guy. Does all the analytics, all the research, all the rating stuff. And Mike was saying that the survey they took, 90% of the people don't want politics with their sports. They just want sports. And that's our job to give it to them. And
I don't think anybody's being convinced of anything that's done differently than what they already believe.
But I believe, I want people, look, everybody already knows either you're going to stand or not stand for the anthem. Fine. That's kind of old news. If you don't want to stand, it's your First Amendment right not to stand.
Don't have to, yeah. You don't have to.
Fine. There were two 49ers that did not stand. Cardinals were in the locker room. Two 49ers that did not stand, which is fine. That's their right to do. But the cool thing is, if there's time, because the NFL moves very fast, if there's time, we try to share some cool things happening in the community that these players are involved in. That's what we need to sell.
Yeah.
And that's what will get people on your side. And
I view it the same as I view commercials from almost every vendor on television, that the commercials are COVID related. We're all in it together.
I can't take it.
I'm done with it. Like, I know we're in COVID. You don't need to remind me we're in COVID. Just give me a regular commercial. And I feel the same way on the NFL. I know there's disagreement. I know there's movements. I know there's this, that, the other. I just want to see football. I don't need to see all the stuff. And I would even say I don't even need to see the stuff going on in the communities. I don't need to see it.
Well,
because I know why we're seeing it is because we're trying to, we're trying to make everybody happy. We're trying to show the people who are involved in the movements, we're sensitive to you. We're going to show this aspect of the movement. The fans at home, we know you don't want to see them kneel for the anthem, so we're not going to show that, but we're going to show you a little bit of the movement. And I think what you do is you give two parties, neither one gets 100% of what they want, and they're only going to be happy if they get 100% of what they want. So everybody's unhappy. So I just ignore the whole thing.
I think for the most part, I know our game. I can only speak from my game because it was just normal. Let's do our game.
Good. I thought your game was great. I was listening for you and Kevin together.
Yeah.
I thought you had great chemistry, and that'll only continue to grow as you do. Eagles and who?
Rams.
Eagles and Rams.
So you get to see the Rams again.
See those ugly uniforms the Rams have. Oh, those are hideous. Hideous. Their stadium's beautiful, but their uniforms are hideous.
All right.
I
don't even notice uniforms, but apparently you are like a lot of, how can I say this?
A lot of people who like
fashion.
Thank you. I know what you wanted to say.
My wife likes fashion.
Yeah, I like fashion.
You're like my wife and daughters. They really love fashion. Maybe you'll start doing a blog fashion.
I don't take that as an insult when you put me in with your wife and daughters.
No. Okay.
Very good. Now, we think we're going to have Big Ten football by October the 17th. That would be an upset if we do not. Why is that date important? Well, obviously because football starts, but it's also probably the end of the window on open enrollment for health insurance. I don't know the exact window, but I know this. If you need health insurance, AUIinfo.com, Chrissy, Steve, Julie, all the fine people at AUI in Akron, they're licensed to serve you in the state of Ohio. You're already paying, whether you know it or not, in your health insurance for a health insurance consultant. It's built into the cost of the policy, whether you get it online at healthcare.gov or whether you get it from a company direct. Wouldn't you rather have somebody who is down the middle and has no incentive in putting you with this company over that company? They can access any company. And when they access those companies, then they're paid by the companies. So you get the free advice, the free expertise, and you find out that, if you go with the cheap plan with somebody, your nearest doctor's 50 miles away. The hospital that you could go to is in another state. Don't do that. Go with AUIinfo.com, whether you're lining up benefits for employees or whether you are lining it up for yourself. AUIinfo.com. Chrissy, Steve, they're phenomenal people. I can't vouch for them enough. AUIinfo.com. All right, you ready for the faith portion of the podcast? Yeah. I was really looking forward to seeing you today, and I'm really happy to see you today just because I had a heaviness going on yesterday. I've been trying to, you started with me a few months ago on the whole like Twitter policing and being careful on Twitter and being more peaceful, but still
Without compromise.
without compromise. Yes, thank you. So I've been trying to do that a lot, and I've been trying to, when I retweet things, there are things that I think people need to consider, or I try to challenge things that I think a lot of people already believe, but I have a perspective on it through my faith prism that I think they need to consider.
Mm-hmm.
And about a week ago, I read an email from our friend Dan in Minnesota who said that he had disengaged from all social media and our podcast because he said he just felt yucky and like the whole disagreements and everything were getting to him. And he said he was refreshed by disengaging.
Good.
And I said, yeah, great. That's awesome. I am trying to sort through whether I should disengage on social media, because I've just said here in the last couple minutes, you're not going to convince anybody. I'm burdened by my call as a disciple of Christ to stand firm. Is standing firm, I think God's given me a gift of logic and language. I think I can connect things.
Yes,
and I think
I'll agree with you. I think logic, for the most part, I think you have a great gift of language.
What I mean by logic
is a good gift of logic.
What I'm saying with logic is I think I can connect, like people will say this and I'll be like, yeah, but what about this?
Yeah.
I can connect those things. I can show the relationship between two things. But you may not think that you're ignoring this fact over here when you make this statement. And I think I can connect those things. That's what I mean by logic.
Okay.
And so my inner dilemma is, if I disengage from voicing things about the current disagreements in our country, if I, for instance, I had a guy the other day tweet me about what is unchristian about the Black Lives Matter movement, about their website. He said, what on their website does not mesh with Christianity? So I thought, well, I'm going to hope your question's genuine. So I went through their website and I went through some scripture and I made some points about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
nice effort on your part.
And then I could tell from his response that he was not seeking genuinely, but that's okay, because maybe other people.
That I find it interesting.
Yeah, maybe so other people, right? Maybe other people benefited from it. But then I got, from that and from some other things, just so much hatred back.
It's hard.
I get it. There's anger. I get it, and I get you're not going to convince anybody, everybody, or maybe even anybody. And so I was struggling last night. I really felt a heaviness about. Not about the disagreements, which burden me, but more so about my own personal role in it. And I wanted to know, I'm trying to reconcile, am I doing God's work by using my gifts, what I perceive my gifts to be, and my ability to encourage Christians via social media to stand firm, to not be afraid to stand for truth, even though that inspires much rancor from other people? Or should I just completely disengage? Should I just completely disengage? So sometimes our kids give us really wise advice. And so one of my daughters had a tough day yesterday, and she was telling me about that last night. And she asked me how my day was. And I said, I shared my struggle with her. And she hugged me and she said, Dad, it's your job to stand for truth. The Holy Spirit convinces people, not you.
Right.
And that just encouraged me. I still don't know if I'm going to disengage some, all, whatever, but it was just neat to have the encouragement of someone who's, 14 years old. And I thought, boy, Lord, I'm really grateful that she has that wisdom at her age. So I was reading this morning, it's the 16th of the month. So I was in Proverbs 16:25. There is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end, it leads to death. That is my fear with all this conversation, discussion, disagreement, is that I believe there are many people who are engaged in things that they believe seem right to them, but I'm afraid that they are ignoring that God's plan for our life is ordered dramatically different. God's plan for our life is ordered via submission, humility, gentleness, patience, kindness, self-control, all those fruits of the Spirit. which I do not see played out in many of the avenues people are choosing to pick. So what I'm trying to do is to get people to understand that the one healing balm for all our problems is the way of Christ. Peace, patience, gentleness, kindness, self-control, understanding. It's not many of the avenues that we're engaging in. So I'm trying to figure out, can I do what I want to do what I feel called to do, but do it through that prism.
All right, couple points.
Yeah.
One of the things that you're battling a little bit, okay, because in your youth and in your younger days, you were defensive.
Yeah. Angry,
and you were aggressive.
Yeah, aggressive, bitter.
On bitter, yeah,
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know maybe the insight that you have about yourself now that you weren't necessarily putting into practice back then. And I share the story, but it's because it's meaningful. Like when we first started working together, and back then we were just getting like emails to the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And during a break, like you could not wait to respond an email, and it wasn't a response that was one or two sentences.
Mm-hmm.
It was a paragraph, and the anger, and I kid, but maybe because you were fast, but the anger that you were typing or the look on your face and how it affected your mood during breaks, I said, this is remarkable.
I will use a phrase to describe myself that you used from Dr. Phil. I was a right fighter.
Yeah.
I always had to be right.
Yeah, that's true. And so I think some people, think that you're still like that when you genuinely want to engage in somebody.
But I battle that old inner man too.
Oh, of course you do.
Yeah,
I do too. I think the other thing is what I've improved on. Doesn't mean they're right or wrong, but I actually take time. And if somebody makes a point, I actually listen and think about it before dismissing it. And I think you've gotten better at that. Now, my advice to you, whether you like it or not, everything you can hold is hold to the Bible. So everything that you put out, make sure and do your research. Is it biblically true? I think it's very important too that when we point out verses, and then Dave Pash, my friend of mine who's very smart, and we don't agree on everything about Christianity. We do agree on the death, the resurrection, and salvation. So it's the context of what the Bible's, whatever verse it is. Okay, what was the context? Who was that written to, and why? And Dave is a very good person at that. I've gotten better at that. But as a Christian, and as a professing Christian, and as a man who is open about his faith, you can't keep score. And the other thing you can't do is that you have to go and understand that you are going to be persecuted. And the more open about your faith, the more persecuted you're going to be. That's biblical.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I always think, and then we talk about, there's good versus evil in this world, not people wise, but in the spiritual realm, where there's God and there's Satan. Satan knows he's lost, but it doesn't matter to him because he's going to take as many down as he can. So why would he get somebody? He's not interested in the serial rapist or the serial killer or somebody that has no God in their heart, or
he's already got them. They're already on his team.
So who do I go for? Where can I cause the most damage? So you're going to be under constant attack, because the more open you are about your faith, the more attack is going to come. And that's sometimes hard for people. And so, Satan is relentless. He's brilliant. He knows every weakness. He knows how to exploit every weakness. And you have a voice, and you have a voice for God. And you have a voice for truth, biblical truth. And so as long as you respond with biblical truth, and as long as you genuinely listen to somebody else's opinions, like I see when you start tweeting about the campaign in presidential politics, I get your side. I get where you're coming from. try to understand from that person. See, that's the thing. We don't know, with people that respond to us, we don't know their personal situation. Just try to understand, okay, how maybe a conservative movement or a conservative president, in some sense, has not benefited them. It doesn't change anything, but just try to understand where they're coming from before you answer. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I can understand. I get it. I know that you're not going to budge on abortion.
Pro-life, yeah.
I'm not going to budge on that. I mean, that's you and I. But there's other issues that I try to open my mind and understand. Okay, why a Republican Congress and why a Republican president doesn't help this person. I can see that. I don't agree with it, but I can see that, and I can understand why they can see that. I can understand why sometimes they may feel that President Trump is offensive. I understand that, but it doesn't change where my thoughts are. But I just try to understand where the people are coming, because the more we try to understand each other and where we're coming from, and we talk to people as opposed to talking over people, I think there's a better chance of everybody coming together. So, I mean, the problem with your Twitter is you're not responding personally attacking, but then people will come back and go after you personally, and that hurts you because you care. You want to be liked, and we're all liars if we don't say we don't want to be liked. We want to be liked.
Mainly for me, it's a fear that I'm putting people I love in physical danger. That's my fear. I mean, that's my fear. It might not be a rational fear.
That's legitimate fear. I'm just telling you, like, if I have legitimate fears, and I have friends of mine that hold me accountable because my imagination, like yours, may run wild one day. But I think there's always, be on your guard. We always have to be on our guard. But, if you're going to stand for truth, then, that's not easy. And then you're going to be called to the carpet, and you're going to be challenged. And especially somebody that has a profile like you, that has a platform with the pen, with the camera, and with a phone. I mean, you reach a lot of people. And so, you're going to have to take on some arrows. And that's fine. You're a big boy. You can handle that. And your kids are fine. Look, I understand that, because when I do something in the public, my kids get harassed or tagged. I was having this conversation with my daughter the other day. I said, look, having my last name, there's good things you get, there's bad things that you get. For the last bad thing was every one of her friends, and she was getting text messages from the student newspaper saying, why is your dad suing Upper Arlington? I never sued Upper Arlington. I said I supported them going back to school or having a choice whether to go back or not go back, but she was taking the brunt of it, not me. But you know what? That's what you choose to do. Now, you can choose to hide here and do nothing, or you can choose to speak out. There's no right answer, by the way. And I'm not being like, hey, coward, get out there and speak. I'm not saying that at all. You got to choose what you want to do, and if you do it, and if you stand for God, you better be able to take rocks for God, or don't do it.
Really appreciate your perspective, because that is what came to me last night and this morning as I was praying about it. Was, okay, well, what's the filter you're putting it through? Like, is it a Christ-like perspective you're giving? If that earns you criticism, I told you that's coming. If it's Bruce's perspective, then you probably deserve it. Don't rely on your own strength, rely on my strength. Right. So thank you for that. Would you like to share anything that's particularly strengthening you these days, or anything that's been meaningful to you?
I think that for me, I really have in a peaceful place that I'm really living, again, one day at a time. And I don't know if it's like because I'm back doing games and things feel a little bit normal to me. And I know that, and I'm lucky and fortunate that I feel this way, that I really have a perspective of just trying to live in the moment. And so I had a date night last night, Tuesday night, because during the season, and just like hanging out, and we went to Smith and Walensky out at the
Easton.
Yeah, and just hung out at, where you can sit, where you're allowed to sit.
Yeah.
But I just, for a moment, I'm just looking across the table and I'm thinking, okay, today I talked to all the kids. Everybody's doing okay. They're dealing with stuff, but overall, everybody's doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one of the dogs has a health issue. Found out it's not, of course, in my world, it's not cancer. It's a fatty tissue. Okay, we don't have to worry about that. And so, at that moment, at that time, everything was right in the world. God is. I can't tell you how God has blessed me with two wonderful women or partners in my life, and I don't know how that works. I stopped asking how it works. Maybe I don't need to know how it works, but I just sat at this restaurant enjoying good food and conversation and talking about, well, maybe we should start a online family Bible study, and going through a plan like that, because all our kids are spread out right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to thank God, and I sent out not a verse, but a thought the other day when you kind of just looked to the sky and said, thank you, I know that was you. And so I had a cool moment last night with all the craziness for an hour and 15 minutes, nothing but being in the moment with my wife, talking about our family and laughing and just being in the moment. So that's not anything crazy, but it's a good reminder to, hey, for this second, for this moment in time, you are the only person in this world, and we're going to focus on each other and have a great time and laugh and talk about our kids and, steal each other's food, try each other's drink or whatever, and just be in the moment. And so I advise everybody to just get in the moment once in a while.
Well, I think that's great to understand, where your blessings come from and to be grateful for
Little things,
your wife and your children and things that we tend to take for granted. That's phenomenal. I mean, you and I had a conversation on the phone. I think it was Friday or Saturday. You were in San Francisco, and you talked about how you, even though the churches weren't open, you wanted to go and sit outside a church. And, I just applaud you. It's strengthening to hear your commitment to find a place where you can connect with God.
Yeah.
And we didn't both encourage people. We've encouraged people before, find a quiet time, find a way to connect with God.
I know. And I'm going to give, for my discipline in that, I'm going to give the Catholic rules, so to speak. So before I went, I called the priest and I said, hey, Father, ain't nothing open out here, man. There's nothing on Saturday nights, or usually you have to go to church. That's required, right? To go to church. And so I was looking all over. I mean, I was trying to find some place to go, and there happened to be a church which I've been to before when I'm in San Jose, actually, which is right next to the hotel. And so I said, is it okay if I go over and sit on the steps and pray? And he said, of course it is. He said, look, I know you tried to make it work. It couldn't work. So you go, but thank you for that, because it's something that, but I thank my faith for that, because it's something that drives me, and I have a great ability of holding myself accountable.
Yeah,
which is a gift.
You do.
I'm not saying, hey, 1, 2, 3. I mean, I have been given a gift of accountability to myself.
I would just say that in the past, it's been much more legalistic than it is now. When I hear you talk about those kinds of things now, it's really a heart issue, which I think is very pleasing.
What do you mean?
In the past, I think you've been you did it as I just think you were very legalistic about it.
And I don't think
you're about that. I don't think you're that way now. I think you're it's really a genuine hunger.
I mean, I still okay, do I have to do this? But I'm not asking if I don't want to do it. So obviously I want to do it. That's like I tell my kids, if you have to ask, can you do something? This is when they were younger. The answer is probably no.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it for us on a Wednesday. You can review us on iTunes. That would be very helpful. Patronize our sponsors, HemisphereCoffeeRoasters.com, AUIinfo.com for health insurance individually or for your business. Willis Spangler Starling is your attorney firm. of choice.
Can we put a disclaimer? Hemisphere is not responsible for any family arguments that may come up
They are not.
when people fight over their coffee.
No, they are not. We will talk to you again on Friday. Hopefully we'll have closure on the Big Ten by then.
Slightly smaller show on Friday. Slightly.
Smaller, slightly. Not to demean Dustin Fox in any way. Everybody have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Kill the live stream here.
Look what just.
Hold on.
I know. Look what popped